Hi, potential viewers. I have no idea what this video will end up being or what the real purpose is behind it, but I came to somewhat of a realization yesterday that it's very likely I have Asperger syndrome. Some shy kid, why should they listen to me? I never really showed anyone any kind of intelligence other than on paper at school and sometimes at home with my family where I was comfortable. I did exceptionally well in school up until middle school. That was about the same time I started the fighting. Yeah, I guess I went through the little we'll call it the badass phase, or attempt to be a badass, or whatever, which I was pretty badass. That's not the point. No, I'm rambling again. Okay. I hope that anyone else out there that's trying to figure it out like I was, if you get anything out of this video, it was worth the time and the effort it took for me to put it in. I had to sit in front of this thing for a long time before I eventually got comfortable enough to talk about stuff that I wanted to, and I haven't covered even close to the amount of information that I really wanted to. I literally sat after finding out about this yesterday, and I wrote over 14 pages on Microsoft Word in a relatively small format. It's a college format. It's still set up when my wife was doing her essays for college work. I've never written that many words one after the other in my entire life. I really haven't. I've never had the patience for it. I've always had an extremely high level of reading comprehensions. Strangely though, I have great difficulty reading. It's not that I don't understand the words, or it's not that I don't recognize them or recognize the meanings behind them. I understand everything on that, whatever. I understand everything like that perfectly. It makes perfect sense to me. I get it all. The problem that I have is, I don't know, I haven't tried to read in a while now, but the last time I tried to read I was in middle school, and I'm almost 25. I'll be 25 in a couple weeks now. Maybe I look 25 now. I've generally always looked younger than what I actually was. People have always called me a baby face. I always get carded when I buy cigarettes. Enjoy it while I can, I guess. Not gonna last forever, especially in that. Anyways. When I would try to read, the last time I remember attempting to read was for schoolwork. And the problem that I had, I would start going through the first sentence, and before I even finished that first sentence, I was already looking down at everything else underneath it, all the way to the bottom of that page, to the very last word of the last sentence. And I'm not sure why I did that. I don't know. I don't understand that particular part of anything, but when that happened, I physically felt short of breath, like asthma attack almost, and it was very persistent. This started early on when I was still in elementary school. I remember telling my mom about it, my grandma, and the doctor came up with some bullshit that I had, in his words, a touch of asthma, which he prescribed nothing for. There was no rescue inhaler. There was no form of treatment for this touch of asthma. It was a fucking cop-out, because he didn't know what the fuck it was. He had no idea. He didn't even begin to try and make a decent excuse or a decent cop-out for it. Oh, it's a touch of asthma. And there we go again, sorry. Knowing that had I not found this information and my daughter, that I now see the same symptoms I had when I was her age in, knowing that she would have to deal with this the same way that I did, because doctors just haven't taken the time to fucking figure it out. They don't listen. The problem is they do not listen. At least in my case. Maybe you guys have great doctors. I don't know. Mine sucked ass. But that, I don't know what that was unless it was sensory overload, and that gave me that feeling of shortness of breath. That kind of makes sense. Generally my sensory overload manifests in what seems to be an involuntary physical form, like the vomiting. I despised vomiting. I despised it so much that I would prevent it, and because of that it would be worse. And there was one time that I nearly choked myself to death, almost suffocated myself because of that. Not pleasant. I imagine it's not that pleasant for you to visualize that, especially if you see things as I do. It's all images and movies. And there's nothing simple. Everything is complex, and really, in a way, it's kind of, I don't know, it's all beautiful, I guess. I don't particularly like expressing emotions that openly, but it's just what it is. It's a beautiful way of seeing things, a beautiful way of looking at the world. I would not trade my ability to logically and creatively solve problems for anything. I do wish I could find something other than turning a wrench in a shop somewhere to do with that, and I know there's got to be something out there. I just haven't found it yet. Well, for right now it's just unemployment, though, unfortunately. And I'm going to talk to the doctor about this Asperger's thing and see what he thinks, because I've gone through many different employers in the short time that I've had after being 18. I'm 25 now. I'm not the best at math, not my strong point. I prefer science and reading comprehension. Even though I can't read, 90% of the times what I do is I look at the question and I go back and I scan the entire fucking paragraph all at one time, and I find one word that relates in a way that makes sense. Whether it's something that anyone else would see or not, I don't know. But I relate that word, and then I read around that word, and I find my answer generally. So, the longest time I've ever held a job was 1 year and 6 months, and that was after being put on Adderall. One of the things that I'm struggling with right now is the decision of whether I should continue fighting and risk meltdowns that I have experienced in the past. I have never gone more than 2 years without having a relatively severe meltdown. I mean, I've quit my jobs, I've lost my jobs because I just never called, I never did anything. I isolated myself in an extreme way that was triggered by something I just don't know. I don't know what triggered it.